You're very welcome to Tipp GAA TV here, where we take a look at the club championship and look back at the exciting hurling that was there in round one of the Tipperary Club Championship. And we'll also preview the first round of the football championship, which is on the horizon the coming weekend. We'll have one live game on Tipp GAA TV next weekend. That's the clash of Moyle Rovers and Kilsheelan Kilcash on Sunday at 1 in Clonmel. So plenty to look forward to in the football championship as well. But it was a brilliant opening to the Tipperary Senior Hurling Championship, the Dan Breen, the Premier Intermediate and the Intermediate. And we're going to review that first off. And I'm delighted to be here joined by Sarah Fryday and Shane Stapleton. You're both very welcome to Tipp GAA TV.
Thanks, Steve.
Hi, Stephen.
So looking back at this weekend, it was an incredible opening weekend of hurling, probably dominated by a few draws. And Sarah, you were on commentary with me on Friday evening on Tipp GAA TV for that game between Kildangan and Lockmore. And we go through that and we go through some of the scores of the week and the controversies of the week as well, I suppose, with that Owen Kelly penalty. And we'll have a look at that one, the score that he got from Mullinahone against Tummyvara late in that game. But we'll start, I suppose, with our live game on Sunday on Tipp GAA TV. And Sarah, that was your beloved Clonoulty Rossmore, who were up against Nina, and it finished 3-10 for Nina, 19 points for Clonoulty in that one. And it's a serious game.
Yeah, it was. It was a great game. And I suppose looking at it, Clonoulty probably would be disappointed coming out with not a win. Like, a draw is great, obviously. But 19 scores to 13, like, you would be hoping to come out with a win there. But at the same time, they could have lost it just as easy with 3 goals going in there, all kind of set up by Jake Morris or scored by Jake Morris. So Clonoulty will have to look at that to see like how they let those goals in so easy. And in the first 10 minutes, there could have even been more, only for Martin Sadler on the line. So, yeah, look, a good performance, I suppose. Both teams, I know we've been talking about Kildangan and Lockmore missing players, but if you look at both those teams as well, I suppose Barry Heffernan was obviously a massive loss for Nina there. Very quickly had to adjust to that. And I suppose Clonoulty had more time to adjust to the fact that they're going to be without Timmy Hammersley now as well, who maybe you might have said in previous years, would they have got 19 scores on the board without Timmy? Who knows? But yeah, I think a lot of learning done by both teams there, and probably a draw in the end. You know, you were lucky, similar to Lockmore and Kildangan in that. But yeah, a lot of safety, I think, in a lot of the teams at the start, shown in a lot of draws. But yeah, look, it was a good first round, and I think the two teams will be happy for a draw by the end of it.
For me, the score of the week was in that, and we're going to maybe invite viewers to send in some of their scores of the week or tell us what they were. But Shane, the score of the week for me was Jake Morris's flick back for the third Nina goal. You saw that match Sunday. What did you think of that and the weekend as a whole, hurling wise?
As for Jake Morris, yeah, he's a real maestro, and there's a bit of pressure on Jake now to perform up front for Nina if they're going to win this elusive county. They did a terrific North campaign, and just without Barry Heffernan, the pressure's kind of on him now to just to keep momentum going. They've a top class coach in Johnny Kelly, and with Noel Maloney as manager, they'll be looking for a big season. And I think they'd be disappointed with maybe a draw against Clonoulty. Clonoulty seem to really be able to up their game for any time they play Nina. The weekend as a whole, I think, yeah, a small bit of I don't know, did it kind of maybe come a couple of weeks maybe too early. I think there's still a lot of players maybe in America or away. I think there's maybe a bit of fear where with people coming in with a few knocks or a few injuries coming into the campaign, and if you maybe if you make it worse during the first match, you might automatically be out for the rest of the campaign. And I don't think we really saw a lot of teams up to their 100% strength in the first match. So I think it will get better. I think the competitions now are so even, junior, intermediate, premier intermediate and senior. I think There's not going to be a lot between the teams, and the first match, it's great to win because we always say that the pressure is on if you lose, but I think the second weekend is huge now, especially when the two winners are playing each other and the two losers are playing each other. I know there's a lot of draws, but no, so it's all to play for. And I think a lot of people, it's tough on maybe the dual clubs going straight into football round, but I think there'll be a lot of teams now will learn a lot about their teams this week. They'll do a lot of work behind the scenes, and I think they'll be in a better place for round 2.
Great stuff. And we'll have a look at what many considered the skill of the week and the score of the week now, and it is Jake Morris's little one-handed flick.
Ball breaks to Jake
teammate
Morris.
for a goal.
Jake is away. Jake is heading down. Jake heading for the goals here as Jake Morris. Beautiful little flick back outside here. And can they get something out of it here? It's Crowley. The shot comes all the way in. Key.
So the passage of play, he's working it down all the way to the end line. Talk us through it there, Sarah.
Yeah, you can see Canoty backs there for a lot of the game. They seem to be chasing the player and the ball, and again just opened up. And that's what the Nina forwards did for that first 40 minutes until it took Canoty really to get to terms with it. Then was they opened up that back line, and if you were looking at it like I was, maybe like the space that was left inside in that full forward line for 40 minutes of that game was frightening to look at when you have the caliber of players inside like Tommy Heffernan and Jake Morris. And so yeah, look, you couldn't, like, Nina probably below their standard or their own high standard that they set for themselves on the day, but means was Jake, and he was involved in everything there, and no matter who was on him, I think Ronan Heffernan started on him, John O'Keefe went on to him, Tommy Ryan went on to him, and so like there was no stopping him, and Nina would be very grateful for him on that day. But pure class, like I think when you're looking at them, can you see the standout county players or inter-county players? And the first evening on Friday, you could clearly see Noel stand out by a mile in that match. Jake stood out as well. Definitely one that Liam Cal will be looking at again and knowing that he's performing for his club too.
Shane, you've played in that forward position, and it was just so clever to just take all the defenders out and at the corner of your eye spot a teammate unmarked.
Yeah, and as Sarah said, like there's going to be a lot of teams and a lot of forwards like Jake are going to love when they see the fixtures come out and see that they're involved in the match in Semple Stadium, because they're going to try to take advantage of that. The end line is becoming, the inter-county game is being so condensed, and I think it'll spread into the club game. I think forwards coming in, the end line is going to be real attack and ply now. So I think when Jake, his eyes probably opened up, he was inside the defence. I thought at the start he was going to maybe bat it down hard into the ground like he can do, one hand or two hands. And I think then just at the last minute, I think he tried to flick it out. So it was a brilliant piece of play, and that's what you want to see. You know, people pay for forwards like Noel McGrath and Jake Morris, and I think there might be a small bit of incentive for, like, everyone wants to play well for their club and everyone wants to win match for their club. But I think for a lot of these inter-county players now, the trials or the trying to impress Liam Cahill has already started, and Jake and Liam would be very familiar with each other over the years. And I think Jake now would be kind of trying to make a statement saying, right, I want this for the next few years. I want the Tipp Senior Hurling forward line to be built around me, and because that's what happened in the 20 and 21 teams. And and it's great to see Jake, and hopefully he can stay injury free.
Yeah, any other scores, Shane, that stood out for you, or moments across the weekend? No,
I just think there was some great scores maybe out the field on Saturday. Long distance shooting, I think, was back in. There was a lot of long ball. The conditions were a bit different on Saturday. There was kind of a greasy mist that they kind of fell, but a couple of Tumivaras goals were really impressive. And then I suppose you have to go back to the Sarsfields. The scores were brilliant, but I think it was a brilliant 20-25 minute display out of Thurles Sarsfields. It was huge, and I know we'll talk about it later, but it was just, they really put up their hand and kind of said there's going to be a lot of contenders for this Stanbreen. And I think maybe from the first round you'd have to say that SARS had maybe could go to the top of the pile.
Good stuff. And Sarah, that flick back from Jake was one piece of skill. Anything else stand out for you? Because I know you saw a lot of matches. You were at the doubleheader in Clonoulty, the doubleheader in Thurles on Saturday, Thurles Friday night as well, and Sunday.
Yeah, a lot of games. Yeah, I suppose going away from like maybe your intercounty players, like we said there, Jake and Noel obviously were stand out at the weekend, but I thought Jack Delaney, like Shane said there, his 2 goals, he had number 9 or 8 on his back, but he was kind of operating around centre forward there. They were 2 super goals that he got, and Tumivara really needed them at the time. In Clonoulty at the double header, I thought Dara Mooney gave an absolute wonderful display in goals, and he's really been kind of protecting Anacarty there for a long time against serious threats from like Lyndon Fairbrother there or any of the super forwards that JK Brackens have. And I thought Luke Shanahan actually with Upperchurch on the day as well put over some super scores. Like I remember looking at him with Tip like underage, and I thought he was a giant. And when he was beside all those men from Upperchurch and Holy Cross at the weekend, like he looked that bit smaller, and I was wondering will he be able to actually operate with these bigger lads. And he was superb. Some of the scores that he got were class. So some of those lads, and Dara McCahey from Lochmore, some of the shoulders he was hitting against those Killadangan lads coming in, he looked like he was operating there for a few years, never mind his first season out. So yeah, a few really good displays in that. And I suppose Jack Delaney's goals from that centre forward position were good when a time when there was draws and people kind of playing a bit safe, as Shane was saying. He stood out for me big time over the weekend.
And he really attacked the space, didn't he, Sarah? Yeah. He snuck in behind the Mullinahone defence, and it was goal time, and they were big scores, and they really laid down a marker, and to see Jack do that was a great start for Tumivara.
Yeah,
we'll move on to that game in a second. Kilruane beat McCarthy and the other one, Sarah, in that group, and round 2 it is Clonoulty against Kilruane and Nina against McCarthy.
Yeah, and Clonoulty has a track record against Kilruane either, and they'll be very aware of that going into the game. So that'll be a very tough one there. Kilruane out on top after the draw, obviously, with ourselves and Nina, so they'll be happy with that. I think it's going to be a very tough game. Kilruane are probably always a team that have a great team on paper, but seem to not get that silverware or whatever it is when it comes to the business end of the year. And like that, they'll be very aware of that too. So they'll be looking to put out a performance there and hold top of that group there with a win against Clonoulty. Big defeat from McCarthy, but I suppose they'll have bigger concerns like making sure that their players are all well after that nasty injury that Reece Shelley picked up, and best wishes to him obviously as well. But yeah, McCarthy will be looking to bounce back. I think there was a lot of talk about them in the build up to the championship as this young, exciting team, and that will knock their confidence a lot of young players, but they just have to come back out swinging now, and they want to get a performance in against Nina, which would be a tough task as well, but no better team to come back when their backs are against the wall to come out swinging like. So yeah, 2 good games there. I think McCarthy will really want to prove themselves, because I think a lot of people have nearly written off Holy Cross and McCarthy now, and it's only the first round is over, so they'll be looking to make a point in the second round. Yeah.
Good stuff. Shane, moving on to that other group and that live game on Saturday between Mullinahone and Toom. Yourself and Sarah both made a point about Jack Delaney's scores. One, Owen Kelly, who we all know well, popped up with a huge goal from Mullinahone. I think we're going to see that now, and we'll watch it and talk through it then after that.
He's been held a short of a chance of a score here. Mullinahone still working this one. The shot comes in low, brilliantly saved there, and many times before. Here comes Kelly. Owen Kelly rises, shoots, and he puts that one to the left and wide. He's put it wide.
So here it is again. Sarah, your thoughts? You were up in the stand where I was in the Canaan stand for this one. What did you think? Talk us through that shot. I thought it was a goal initially, and obviously the umpires and the ref did as well, and the goal was given. Your thoughts on it now?
Yeah, I suppose 9 times out of 10 when you're watching Owen Kelly take a penalty, maybe the umpire had the flag raised before he even took it or something, I'm not sure, but my initial thought was that it was wide, and then when I saw that green flag go up, I was like, there must be something I obviously haven't seen. The umpire has a better view of it. So I was convinced then when I saw the green flag go up that there was just something I didn't see. But looking at the replays and stuff there, and like in the stadium, it's probably one of the second best pitches in the country. So are the nets bad? Probably not. So I can understand where Toomevara are coming from with the controversy of it, but at the same time, I do think Toomevara should have had that game put away very earlier before that, 6 minutes at a time. Then not sure where that came from. So maybe the ref was very aware of the fact that if he doesn't get this a level game, that there is a lot of controversy going to come from it. So yeah, look, I don't think it was a goal. I don't think it was a goal. But I do think Toomevara should have had that game won before that. It shouldn't have been left to decide on that.
Shane?
Yeah, just from the media box upstairs, I thought initially I thought actually it just shows the power Owen can generate. I actually thought he went low and maybe into the side net, and the umpire maybe had a ball outside the goal and hit that, and kind of that was the one that hit the net. So I thought it was a goal initially. Just even from the Toomevara reaction, there was no one jumping around the D, kind of saying it was wide. Rory Beslan in the Toom goal after a few seconds kind of seemed to look over and say, was that not wide? And that obviously started it. Yeah, so it's a real strange one. From the video, it does look like it hit the flag. Now, if you have a ball, it depends how tight the flag is to the net. So if you're in the middle of the 21, do you have the angle to kind of hit a flag that's wide of the post? So it's all. You'll have to give the benefit of the doubt to the referee and the two linesmen who are around the D trying to keep people out of that space. So look, if it was wide, it's a huge stroke of luck for Mullinahone. And exactly what Sarah says. I think Toom should have had that. They were comfortable. They should have had put that match away. Mark McCarthy was off the field. They didn't start Darren Delaney. They were going to bring him on after around 20 minutes and kept him to the second half. So maybe Toomevara, especially after last year, I think they would have been waiting for to play Mullinahone after the way that group ended up last year. They're very familiar with each other, Holy Cross, Toom and Mullinahone, but definitely an opportunity gone for Toomevara on day one.
And do you think that Mullinahone and Toom will get stronger now, because they were both kind of missing starters maybe for that game, Shane?
Yeah, I think so. I think Toom's forwards I thought were really good. I thought they were David Young, even, for example. I thought maybe David Young, we'd see a right battle between David Young and Paul Curran at the edge of the square. David Young was hitting a world of ball out around the middle of the field and caused Conor O'Brien and Sean Curran, who are good players, a lot of trouble around the middle. Alan Curran, I think, eventually kind of picked him up. But from Mullinahone's point of view, I suppose Owen didn't start. Kevin Bulger was missing midfield, and Conor Whelan, who will be a big addition to Mullinahone after transferring from Carrickavens. The three of them weren't there, but from a Toomevara point of view, I was Darren Delaney didn't start. I thought he was very impressive last year in the championship as centre forward and linked the whole play. So maybe he might just come into it. They have a couple of younger players that I think have a couple of knocks, and you'd be hoping they'd come in. But maybe the day didn't suit them either. Toomevara would traditionally be a big physical team, but they have a lot of pace. They come out of the back at pace, and with Robbie Quirk at centre back, maybe if he could get on the front foot, and even if the brother Russell maybe might come into the team, they'd be a big addition for him. But they'll have a big say in this group. The Mullinahone, Holy Cross, and Toomevara will all fancy kind of getting out on top in that little three. Maybe if Upper Church stay to form, they might top it, but the other three will fancy coming second.
Yeah, Sarah, you saw the other game in that Upper Church against Holy Cross.
Yeah, and from the get-go there, Upper Church were by far the standout team. It was nearly like men against boys, and no disrespect to Holy Cross, they put up serious matches against ourselves. County Rossmore, in the last few years. I remember one in particular in Borlahan, where we were kind of confident we'd get a result there, and I think it ended up in a draw. Only 2 years ago. So Holy Cross do have players, but just on that day, it was just men against boys, really, to be honest with you. Brian O'Mara, obviously a big loss there for them, at their spine, holding it together, and with him missing, they were have to resort to putting Carl Barrett back centre back, who we have seen in club hurling kind of seen as a key scorer for them up front. Yeah, so look, Holy Cross, like McCarthy, will have to just brush it off now and hit back hard. And I wouldn't like to be the team that's playing against either of them in the next round like that with Bursley. Any of those teams that picked up beatings kind of at the weekend. I'd actually left at half time because I was heading into the stadium. And I think Holy Cross did come back and did put in a performance at the end that they will be proud of, I suppose, and to add confidence for the next game. But I was really impressed by Upperchurch, and I know like maybe in the mid-championship they probably thought after beating SARS maybe they had the writing on the wall for their mid-championship, but yeah, I do think they've lost that kind of complacency now, and they're really going at this to top that group. Probably, as people have said, like one of the nicer groups for the championship, and they'll be looking to get out on top of that, and they look like a team really in form at the minute, and like any of those dual teams, they do look fit as well like that. So yeah, very impressed with Upperchurch, I must say, at the weekend, but it's hard to tell where Upperchurch that good or where Holy Cross just that bad, to be honest with you.
Yeah, good points there. And I'd say the Church will be favourites against Mullinahone. They met back in 2009 in a county quarter final. And Upperchurch.
I wonder, Stephen, you can chime in there now. Well, I suppose Toom, Holy Cross and Mullinahone won't like saying that it might be, a group that Upperchurch come out. But to be fair to Upperchurch, they have had a few stinkers of groups, and they have had a few tough mid-championship draws over the last few years. So maybe they're due one. The one about Holy Cross is going to be, when does Brian O'Mara come home from San Francisco? So, if he comes in and he goes into 6, it's a game changer. And then I think Carl Barrett played in midfield, but still, if you could get Barrett into the centre forward line, like he caused Timmy Barrett oodles of pressure, or like he did loads of damage there last year in the stadium. And then like they have a young forward line, Joe Caesar, Dara Woods, David Fogarty. So if you get a bit of experience like Carl Barrett up there, like they'll win a couple of games too.
Good stuff. We'll move on to the next group then. Friday night was Kildangan against Lockmore, Castleiney, and the other teams in that group then it is Brackens and Anacarty. Sarah, you were on commentary on Tipp GAA TV with me for Kildangan and Lockmore. Your assessment of it?
Yeah, it was, look, I don't think there was one goal thread in the whole match, and I think that kind of summed it up. Like, we're really kind of looking forward to those two rivals playing. Like, they've met a lot in the past few years. Noel McGrath had an outstanding display. He really stood out massively there throughout the game. I kind of questioned that at the start, with a lot of forwards being missing and John McGrath obviously being a key one. Would they be lost because Noel always plays deep? Would they not have the forwards up front to score? But this man just doesn't seem to be slowing up by any means. He's in the backs, he's up forwards, he's getting scores, and he's kind of back sweeping at different stages too. So he was definitely stand out for the whole game. And I suppose in a game where if you told Lockmore to start at a match, or even in the build up to it, a draw, they'd probably bite your hand off for it. But then when it got to near the end there, they'd probably be very disappointed with not getting the win in the end. And I remember at the end of the match, all the Kildangan team were patting themselves on the back and shaking each other's hand, and like they knew they were really after getting out of danger there, like getting out of trouble, getting that draw in the end. So probably not something, I suppose, before the ball was thrown in, when I saw the likes of Willie Connors warming up and Billy Seymour back from his J1 and all the others that were back that were said to be missing, I thought it was just going to be one-way traffic, to be honest with you, that Kildangan were going to get a decent win and be top of the group coming out of it. But that's not what happened at all. The youngsters from Lockmore really stepped up. Darragh McCahey, I mentioned him at cornerback, like he'd been in there for a few seasons at this stage. We had the Kieran McGrath, Kieran McCormick up front that were getting scores. I think everybody in the Lockmore forward line got on the scoreboard, bar Conor McGrath, who was effective and a serious threat at the same time. In comparison to that, you had Kildangan, who they were relying heavily on their half back line for scores, and Brian Malachny in the end, who really pulled it out of the bag for them. In days where like Paul Flynn and so didn't really perform, and Billy Seymour, I think they want to get game time into him for the rest of the championship, but yeah, he wasn't at his best. And I think a lot of those, like Brian O'Mara, when they come back from their J1s, like they're not at a training camp over there, I don't believe, so they will be getting back to the pace of it when they get back into it. and they'll be happy to get a bit of game time into Billy and for the next round of the championship.
Shane?
Yeah. I couldn't. I didn't see the match now on Friday night. We played Borlahan on Friday, but I suppose kind of we were all talking about Lockmore and who they're missing, and and their savage loss. Like when you take John and Connolly off it, like you're kind of saying, that's a tough break. But then if you look at the program and you look down 1 to 15, they all have county experience, you know what I mean? And they have a lot more play, a lot of matches, like, so from even Kieran Rucker McCormack, you know what I mean, coming in, like he's a tip under 20. He didn't start last year, so they have that strength and depth, and there's a lot of, you can imagine the training in Lockmore is going to be something similar to Brian Cody's in Nolan Park over the year. They've got 3 teams and they're all up to high standard, very, very, really very level panel, other than the exceptions of Noel and John. But Liam McGrath is home now over a year. Cian Hennessy is home. So these guys are huge additions from maybe what they didn't have a couple of years ago when they were travelling. So no, everything in Lockmore isn't as maybe as bad as everyone thinks, and no one wants to play him. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing with Lockmore. Just people have been built up so much that they never bet and never say die Lockmore. That kind of seeps into a few fragile minds when you're the opposition, and Lockmore kind of win maybe a few matches that maybe they shouldn't, just because the opposition know that they're still there.
Sarah, you saw the other game in that group, which was Anacarty and Brackens.
Yeah, and it was nearly like watching 2 football teams up against each other. The 2 of them play quite a similar style of hurling, from what I've seen, in that they carry the ball a lot and they have those players running off the shoulders, and that's the 2 of them are playing at the same game, and that where you would have thought JK Brackens after their mid-final win would have been hot favourites going into that, but any Clonty person or any person at this stage, even in Tipperary GAA, will tell you Anacarty are never bet. They're just so hard to beat. They're really hard to put away. They've just that dogged nature in them that I think is just bred through Brian Fox. And we've seen him time and time again in the blue and gold of Tipperary. He just never gives up, and that's what that team does. And with Dar Mooney in the goals as well, it's very hard to get past him. In that he saved them a lot of times. But yeah, I was impressed with JK Brackens at the start. They started really well, but slowly but surely Anacarty came back into the game, and anyone that writes them off would be silly at this stage. I think JK Brackens will be a bit disappointed. I don't know if what their average age is on that team, but it's probably something interesting to see. Maybe Shane Burke, one of the older players, but they're very young, and I think maybe they thought they had to go out and turn up. Not sure now. And they were hit by a brick wall of Anacarty then, and they were probably a little bit rattled by it. So I think they will learn a lot from that going into their second round, that they can't just take it for granted. Yeah, yes, they're a young, fit team with very skillful players, of course, inside as well, in Lyndon Fairbrother and co. But I think that they will learn a lot from that. Anacarty won't like the fact that Brian Fox went off injured with the last 10 minutes. It looked to be a hamstring injury, and he looked quite deflated going off as well. It could have been a bit serious, but honestly, I'd say that man would play with a broken leg at this stage. So, yeah, look, it was an okay game. By no means did it light the place up or anything. But I think a draw was a fair result in the end. But I think JK Brackens will be going with their eyes open into the rest of the championship.
Shane, it's Lockmore and Brackens next round there, and Anacarty against Kildangan.
Yeah, and I think Eamon Corcoran and Kevin Mulryan and Joe Hayes in the management team for JK Brackens will actually use this as maybe a bit of a stick to beat the players with, brilliant mid-campaign, first ever success, and it's great. And Sarah mentioned it, that maybe the age profile of the team, when they're quite young, you think, oh yeah, we've it done now, we're a good team. And then someone like Anacarty come out, and all the experience on the line with Ronan O'Brien, Nolly Kelly, fiercely competitive team at this age, or at this grade, and you nearly get turned over. And that was Anacarty now without Conor O'Brien, missed a couple of frees, goal chance at the end, so I think now Eamon and the lads will be kind of saying here, Brackens, when we don't turn up now, anyone can beat us. Whereas if we play like we did in the mid, we can beat anyone. So I think I'd say the training will be tough this week. I think there'll be maybe a few words said that we refocus now, and every point is vital here, because in a group like this, it actually you could go into relegation or into knockout stages. It could be kind of a points difference or scoring difference. So everything is huge now. And I said with Brian Fox going off, I think he'll be out for a couple of weeks with a hamstring. Brackens, Lockmore, and Anacarty will be kind of looking at the football and now kind of saying, okay, we want to become competitive, we want to get through the football, but they're just praying they don't pick up any more injuries.
Yeah, and Sarah, final group before we look ahead to the football. Borris and Sarsfield's so many people's favourites for the championship. Shane McGrath said if Borris find their form, they'll really click on one of our other Tipp GAA TV shows. They didn't show up though against Thurles Sarsfields with Ronan, Joseph Ryan, James Armstrong, Pa Burke, Aidan on freeze, and Paddy Creed, and all just on fire and doing what they do.
Yeah, and Thurles didn't let up. Like sometimes, they were by far the standout team of the weekend for me by a long shot, I must say. Their fitness looked immaculate. Like I was kind of looking at it nearly like, is this similar to a Limerick team that we see? Because if you picked any one of those players, they look so fit and in great shape that they could play in any position. Like no cornerback looked sluggish. They could play nearly like all Barry Nashes in any position in the field. I thought they were really stand out for me. From the Bursley side, like someone was saying, I think during the week that they went back training like ridiculously early. I don't know, were they a bit heavy in the legs like for that time of the year? I don't think Brendan going off with that hamstring injury was the reason why they fell apart. I think they were in severe bother before that. So yeah, a lot of questions to be asked there from the Bursley camp. Like I say, 90% final when the team are final. A lot of questions to be asked there, but a lot of learning to be done as well. And like SARS didn't let up one bit. Sometimes when you're playing against a team, you can nearly drop to their performance, but they didn't. Like I thought Aidan McCormack is back to his absolute best as he'd been a few years ago. His pace was just, he left the Bursley backs completely. Like he drove through them, was getting unbelievable points from freeze and from play. And Paddy Creedon again, that goal was unbelievable too. So I was really, really impressed by SARS, and I think they're after really putting a mark down on the championship this year. I think SARS were class, they really were, and if they were against any other team the weekend, they probably would have put up a high score as well, not just Bursley. Like I think that's important as well, that's how good SARS were. Maybe like yes, Bursley definitely weren't at their best, but I think the gap is more reflection on how good Thurles were, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and Shane, like the Thurles they were missing Stevie Cahill out with a blood clot. Billy McCarthy came on. Michael Cahill out injured with a leg injury. And you and I were talking after the game to Brendan Maher's brother Dick, and he was saying that that Brendan didn't have an injury coming into it, but now without Brendan, it's a tough prospect for Borris, who will be playing their neighbours Tipperary next. Yeah,
and both neighbours, they've eaten nearly either side of them, Bursley, with Drum and Templederry, yeah. And it was just a real strange, flat performance out of Bursley. Like I was watching their warm-up, and they absolutely tore into each other in the warm-up. I thought the first 10 minutes would be really interesting, because, if you're in the opposition dugout to our dressing room to Thurles Sarsfield, you're saying, okay, lay down a marker, let's put some heat on him in the first 10 minutes and see what they're made of. Instead, they kind of stood off Thurles, and they'll absolutely kill you if you leave Thurles Sars pass and score. Their confidence is up, and you'll never catch them. I think it was kind of strange. We went with the dream team on the sideline. Shane O'Neill and John Fitz, and even Mikey Beavens now is on the sideline after moving into the parish. And you kind of think that, God Almighty, like this is an unbelievable management team. So you nearly kind of say that we're going to hurl out of our skin for them. I don't know, did they maybe just try to go away from what was really successful for Borris a couple of years ago? Like if the six forwards, like there's two Kennys and Kelly and Eddie Ryan and JD Devaney and Kevin Maher. So they're six intercounty standard forwards. You have three big, three small. They couldn't maybe get a good high ball into the good lads in the air, and they definitely couldn't. Eddie, Kevin, and JD couldn't get on any ball. Sarah said about Aidan McCormack, like anytime Aidan McCormack's free, he gets the ball. You know, he comes out of that 11 channel, he comes in and he gets the ball and makes Thurles Sarsfields tick. If let's say Brendan or Dan or whoever's trying to maybe pick up Aidan McCormack, if they come out with him, then Ronan Maher just goes in long into Creedon, Pa Burke, and Dennis. Do you know? So like, whereas on the day, just Thurles Sarsfields got everything right, and just everything seemed to go wrong for Bursley. Does it mean that they won't have a big shout in the championship? No. And if they do get through the group, and they have they could even get another crack at Thurles Sars, and that's when Bursley, as a what they'll maybe say as a big underdog, they'll relish that.
Yeah, and just finally, Sarah, that other game in that group, it was Tipperary, trained by Cormac McGrath, putting in a lot of effort, a lot of work the last while, but they went down to Drummond team, coached by Paul Collins.
Yeah, and I wasn't at that game now myself, but like from what I saw, it was serious scoring in, I think it was 230, was it, to 220? And like, yeah, you might look there and see that it was a 10-point defeat for Tipperary, but at the same time, they put up a score of 220. The likes of Nina, like putting up 10 points on the scoreboard. No disrespect to them, but like that's a big win, I have to say, for Tipperary, in that like they are putting in performances and getting scores on the board. I am excited to see Drum throughout the year. I haven't seen them this year yet. The like Shamey, after being rested a lot with Tip this year, he should be coming out like playing well there now with them, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the likes of Podge Campion, John Campion playing as well. Like, they're always a really excited group of players to see, and they look lively. And Owen Collins and the goals as well will be after getting a few years of experience there, since we saw him last in that, was it penalties we saw him against Bursley back 2 years ago? Stephen, was that it? I can't remember.
Yeah,
exactly.
that was some match. That was some drama.
Yeah, like that was one of the best games like I watched like in a while, like, and obviously ended in penalties, wasn't ideal, but you know, I'm looking forward to seeing all those players again in the stadium, and getting as many games in that stadium as possible, and spreading it out for as many teams as possible, I suppose, as well, so that they can show off their skills on that. But yeah, Tipperary, I do think like that will be a strong performance. Like, could be wrong now, they're not going to be looking to top any groups or anything like that this year, but putting in strong performances, and that would, I'd say, be one for them. 220, like, it's nothing to be sniffed at.
Great stuff. And we're looking forward to that in round two. We won't get time to spend much on the Premier Intermediate and Intermediate this time around, because we'll just focus on it in another show, without a doubt. But a big win, Sarah, for Cashel against Clonakilty, who had won the mid Premier Intermediate, beating Mine Temple Toohey. So Cashel will be strong this year with Ger Brown, Conor O'Dwyer leading the four, and Connolly as well there.
Yeah, a win. I'm not sure about a big win. I think it was 112 to 13 points or something like so. And maybe the weather played a factor there, but like Cashel do have big names there, and I know maybe you'll say it's going to take a few years to let them settle in together, like these new members coming in. But like Cashel should be expecting, like, they have big names there. They should be putting up bigger scores than that. I believe, from what I heard, I wasn't there now, but Ger Brown was very good for them. His typical scores, running a great distance to get goals, points, whatever. So he will take marking and in the rest of the championship. And look, any West person is going to tell you they want Cashel back up there. They want the Kickums, they want Golden, they want everyone back up in senior again. So it is good to see the West teams getting performances there. But I do think Cashel should be getting more than 112 on the scoreboard, definitely.
Yeah, and just to win that game, I think was a big one for them going forward and get that win. Portrush and Swan, Sarah, was the other game in that group, and two of them teams great. Portrush, we've heard John Sheedy singing over the last while, celebrating their success in the north, and Swans down south are always unpredictable. And you know, when they hit form, they are a superb team to watch, because they play with fluency, and there's great energy in Carrick Swans when they're going well. So Portrush and Swans was another good game in that group.
Yeah, and I suppose Swans would probably have liked to come out there with a win, backing up their South campaign and that. But This is a team again that like everybody will want to see more of. We've heard a lot about them. I can't say I don't think maybe I've seen them once or twice play, but you want to see these teams like getting into Thurles, and like the only way you're going to get there is to put in performances and get the wins to get in there. Like, so I know everyone's saying, oh, Liam Cal may need to get down to the south and see these players. Well, these players need to get themselves into match winning situations, like, and be seen for it. Like, so looking forward to seeing Swans progress over the championship now and that, and they're definitely a team that people will be looking out for. But a big win for Portroe there in that. Getting the win over Swans after their south win. Yeah.
Shane, any other games in the Premier Intermediate stand out for you, or any other teams you'd say watch these?
Sure. I suppose maybe St. Mary's, maybe. St. Mary's in Group 1 at Tracy's, Newport and Burgess, probably like the Cashel, like was it the Swans, Cashel, Clonakilty, Portroe group. They won their respective divisions. But I think after that, I think it's the St. Mary's Tracy's group. I think the winner of this group will have a big say in the championship. I know I'm after saying that a few times today, but just there's a lot of quality coming out of St. Mary's. Barry Shartall from Rockwell is doing a great job coaching them there, and maybe they could have a big say in it. Like, I know everyone's going to look to Seamus Kennedy, but Peter McGarry, James Morris, Jason Lonergan, Ross Peters, there's a lot of hurlers that have wore the blue and gold down there. Maybe the football fitness will stand to them as well through commercials and things. And they're doing a lot wrong. They're another South club, but they're doing a lot right down there.
Just before we move to the football, to look ahead to that, Shane, you were hurling with your beloved Golden Kilsheelan against Borlahan in the Intermediate Championship, and great to be back in action, I suppose. And there's great energy in the Intermediate Championship as well.
Maybe not personally. I was doing 3.5 weeks in America. There wasn't great energy when I was there the other evening. But I know kind of we're down a few. Jack Leamy is out for the season. Andy Burns broken hand, picked up another cup. Keane O'Connell's in America. Owen Ryan's injured. Ronan Hayes broke his ankle the other night. Sean, so it's just for a small club we're kind of struggling a small bit. But great to get the win. I think Borlahan after winning the mid would have been raging hot favourites for it. But no, it was one of them nights that look just kind of takes a bit of pressure off. Couple of weddings and stuff coming up now, so it's not going to help the campaign. But no, the Intermediate, it's a decent little competition now, and there's some good teams. We have to play Lara next, so that's a different prospect altogether. Lara probably one that probably, I won't say shouldn't be down there, but they will maybe think that they were very close to going up to Dan Breen, and instead they went out the trapdoor the next year. So like Bonner and Colin Stapleton and the McIntyres and two Hogans and stuff, they've an awful lot of strength in depth. So it could be a tough day out the next day, Steve. But no, look, it's good to be back club hurling. Good
stuff, and we'll follow your progress across the Intermediate Championship as well. Sarah, looking at it there, the hurling was just great the weekend, and we'll just move to football, which takes place this coming weekend. And I know you've played ladies football and camogie, and it's tough mix the two. And the hurlers will be going from hurling championships straight into football championships. So is it hard for the dual clubs, do you think, or how do you see it?
Yeah, I suppose there's two sides to the coin there, and that, like, I heard Eamon Corcoran speak during the weekend or after the mid campaign, and he was basically saying like they're seeing it like Lockmore see it, and that's as a strength where you build up a team camaraderie and obviously the fitness that comes with playing the football as well. So that has to be the side that teams have to look at it, that you're building up fitness and you're building up camaraderie. But the other side of the coin then is that there's injuries that can be picked up, and you could be missing, like when it's week after week. There's serious injuries that can be picked up, and bodies are tired. And I think there's 6, I could be mistaken now, 6 senior football clubs that are playing senior hurling as well, and they're all out next weekend again. So I'd love to see the stats on that after that, to see the turnover of players, if people are right or not. And it does work when it works out. We've seen it with Lockmore, and JK Brackens are one that will be looking to replicate that as well. And any of those other teams there, like Aero, Gannacarty, you can see the fitness that really contributes to their hurling as well. in that. So it's just, I suppose, having a good strength and conditioning coach in there, good physios, like listening to your body is a big thing as a player, like knowing, okay, I can't train tonight. I feel like I could pull up or whatever it is. And players and managers have to take responsibility for that as well, that really watching the workload and the player burnout, because it can lead to the downfall of a team if players are out injured or that. So it's a tricky one to manage, and I'm not sure if all those 6 teams, like I said, I'm only looking at the senior now. I'm sure it's the exact same at Premier, intermediate and junior. Like I know ourselves, even in Clonty, we have intermediate football, but I don't know, has the football even been picked up, like, you know, so other teams will take it a lot more seriously. So yeah, it's an interesting one to manage, and I definitely don't I feel sorry for any manager trying to manage it, but teams get it right, and when they do, we've seen the rewards that Lockmore and Co can get from it.
Shane, you want to come in there? You coach Tipp seniors in football and under 20 hurling coach currently.
Yeah, and actually just Colin Fogarty, I missed there from Laura, sorry. Yeah, I suppose you have to turn it into a positive, just like what Sarah says. When you're involved in teams, you just have to, even if you lose your first match in the hurling, and then you're kind of coming in with maybe a few footballs and kind of saying, okay, lads, I'm not sure you recognize these things, but we're going to have a bit of crack for it, even we're going to run hard, try to get up and down the field, and maybe just kind of take your head away from hurling and maybe the pressure that goes with it, just maybe enjoy. I'm not saying the hurling session can be enjoyable, but there is a lot of pressure in a lot of these communities for, we lost now, we want to get relegated or whatever. So maybe they could just turn the table a small bit and enjoy a week away from the hurling ball. If you win, then you're kind of going to maybe use it as a bit of conditioning work. So that's the one thing football can bring. The tackle is strong. Fitness wise, you get a week's work done in one football match, obviously, if you get up and down the field. So I think you'll see a lot of the dual clubs, they'll just use it as a positive and say, okay, last week we can't affect last week's result, but we can affect what we do going forward. And it starts here with this football match at the weekend, and we're going to try and win it and start our season from here.
Great stuff. And Shane, we have one live game this coming weekend. You're on CoCom for that match. It is Kilsheelan Kilcash up against Moyle Rovers, 1 o'clock from Clonmel on Sunday. That's a huge game. I mean, you have the quality that Kilsheelan brought to Tipp football over the last few years, Bill Maher, all these guys, Evan Comerford, and then you have on the other side the Moyle Rovers lads who, Stephen Quirk and co.
Yeah, and there's a win if you kind of look at it. There's maybe the big 4/5. So there's always going to be one group that's stacked with a really strong one, and then you're kind of saying, okay, one of these is going to be 1 and 2 in the group. So therefore, someone's going to have a tough quarterfinal berth against them. So this is really a battle for first and second in the group. No disrespect to the others, but both teams will say that, okay, we can get to the last 4, if not the final. Maybe they might be thinking that, okay, without John McGrath, Lockmore might have come back to the pack a small bit. You know what I mean? Moyle Rovers and Kilsheelan being so close to Clonmel, they might kind of fancy that. Okay, Charlie McGeever is gone now. DJ Dwyer is gone. So there might be a changing of the guard down in commercials, and this could be your year. Interesting to see both teams, to see how strong they are. I know both teams have a couple away for the summer. I'm not sure they're back yet, but no, to be interesting, Stephen, and good to see. Like, these are, I know Kilsheelan will have a big say in intermediate hurling, and Moyle Rovers, after going down junior, will be looking to pop straight back up, but. Football would be their game down there, and they'll be looking to get one over on their near neighbour and start the year on a real positive and just keep it going from there.
Yeah, Sarah, it's Rockwell Rovers against Drum at Borlahan in the other game in Group 2, and Rockwell, a West Tipp team. They work so hard out there, and Drum, all those dual players as well that we spoke of, will be involved.
Yeah, and like Rockwell will have their few dual players as well from the hurling. So that will be a tough battle. There'll be tired bodies there in the line for both sides. To see how many players are overlapping there would be important as well. But Drum, I think, only coming up there in the last few years. Shane, you might correct me, from that intermediate, have they?
Yeah, last year, yeah.
Yeah, just last year. So that's their first year up like in that. So that'll be a big test for them in that, trying to balance the hurling and now up with the senior as well with the football. So be a big test for them against Rockwell in that. But I don't know, would you fancy an early drum coming up with that re-energized level there? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But yeah, it'd be an
all those
interesting one, definitely.
champions. They're great
Yeah,
players in
exactly.
drum.
I think what's really important for this football championship is we had it in the last couple of years. Now I know there were kind of COVID championships, whatever. There was a nice few walkovers, and that kind of that's something you don't want. And every club is entitled to do what they want, and whatever. But I hope there's not too many walkovers this year, because it kind of does. It just distorts the whole thing. And even Sarah would kind of say, like there was years there when Clonolty were going really well in the hurling. They never gave a walkover. They always got 15, 18, 20 lads to kick ball, and invariably they went very close, if not beating a lot of the teams around them. So you would hope that maybe clubs would kind of say, look, that there's a huge challenge in having hurling week, football week, but I think that you'd be hoping there'd be enough lads around, enough fit bodies around to at least throw out a team.
Shane, in Group 1, then it is Care against Upchurch in Dundrum Saturday at 5:30, and they came so close to the county last year. Clonmel Commercials up against Killinall in Feathered at 7. Our good friend Charlie McGeever isn't involved with them this year, so it's a new look Commercials this year, but there'll still be a lot of people's favourites to top that group and get back to the county final again.
Yeah, Ash, look, it's great, Stephen, to have a break from having to interview him after the match after they win is fair nine. No, yeah, it'll be a big change, and it'll be like the Tip footballers were out early, so Clonmel Commercials would have had a nice run into this championship. It'd be interesting to see what the likes of Michael Quinlivan and seeing, we haven't seen Mikey on a pitch in a long time. You'd be hoping he's in good shape, and if Mikey's in good shape and is hitting the ground, running and is back to his old self, and you'd be saying Clonmel Commercial could have a real say, not only in the county, but they might be looking further afield and go on a Munster campaign again. It is. Look, everyone is going to try. That's the one that everyone would maybe want to avoid is having to play at Commercials. They're really strong, and the other teams in that group are realistically playing for second place.
Group 3, Aherlow up against McCarthy. Aherlow, their football should be their focus this year, you'd imagine. McCarthy would love to get a win there after the hurling last week, I'd imagine, and that game is on in Borlahan at 7 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, I think maybe there might be one last little sting in the tail from Aherlow. I think a lot of the senior players are maybe pushing on a small bit, but I think from the local grapevine is that they're going to have one, or not one last, but this could be one of their last the big cut they're going to have, and they're putting in a lot of effort. I don't think the league went very well for them, but they're going to take any. They're going to suss out any little weakness, and if they think Mike Harkey aren't up for the battle, they'll walk him into the ground. I saw Mike Harkey play a couple times last year. They're a lovely team. When they won the Tip Under 21 hurling campaign last year, Steve, remember all the interviews were saying that they were a dual team all up along and won county this hurling, county football. So there's a lot of footballers in there. As Sarah said, the injury to Rhys Shelley is maybe a setback, and we wish him really, really well, because the news coming out of the community wasn't good at the start. So hopefully he's making a bit of progress. But again, I think after last week, Mike Harkey might just look forward to a bit of big ball for a week, and if they'll be really fit, and it'll be kind of a contrast of two different styles, really.
In the other game in that group, it's on the same day. Ardfinnan are up against the county champions Lockmore Castleiney. And Sarah, it's Noel, Brian McGrath, all these guys we look to again for Lockmore. They're just such a brilliant club, really, aren't they? They'll be favourites there against Ardfinnan.
Yeah, and you'll never hear any of them complaining about playing a match the weekend after, whatever it is. Even hearing Frankie McGrath speaking after the hurling at the weekend, I think you may have been asking him about Aero, is it they're playing, or JK Brackens in the next game, and he said, well, we have to get over, is it Ardfinnan they're playing first? Yeah, Ardfinnan next weekend. So like they'll be straight back down to work, and no better team to do it than them. A tough task there, obviously, without John there again in the mix. He'd be a key footballer for them as well. So look, more everybody would be saying that like those losses throughout the year, but as we've seen what they've done in the hurling, I'm sure they'll come out strong again in the football and that, and be a tough task to any team. Like Ardfinnan at the weekend won't be taking anything for granted that they're missing players or anything. They'll know that there's a tough task ahead of them.
Great stuff. And Shane, Group 4, Aero Gannacarty against Ballyporeen in Care, 12:30 on Sunday. That's that's a good clash, I'd say, two even teams.
Yeah, really 50-50 call there. Brian Fox would be a huge loss for Gannacarty, so you might give you might look to maybe give the nod to Conor Sweeney and Ballyporeen. Really interesting start to the year for Skeena Rinky in the hurling, just up from junior. I think gave a walkover in the South Intermediate, and then got a great win against Borris-O'Kane in the first round of the intermediate. So they'll be on a high after that. When you see a club going into the winter months, so like the Munster campaign that they were beaten by Ballygiblin in the Munster club, Skeena Rinky and Ballyporeen, they'll get it. That'll be a nice short winter for them. They'll hit the ground running, you'd hope. But look, a good team, a good club, Ballyporeen. They have big plans off the field, so they're hoping to match it up. And look, when you have Conor Sweeney, it could come down to maybe even his freeze. So maybe Sweeney's will fancy getting one over on his old buddy Foxy there.
The final one there, Dundrum, 7 o'clock, Arravale and Brackens. And just briefly, Shane, again, it's all those players you mentioned from Brackens earlier as well, Lyndon Fairbrother and co.
Yeah, this could be a good game now. I think Arravale won the lead. They won the O'Donoghue Cup out here. They won the West Senior. They've got a good. They've Bosco, Niall Fitz, Andy Lacey over them. So they have a decent little winter coming. Put into them. They have a lot of players. They've Johnny Ryan, Tommy Lowry, Shane Dunleahy. They've got a lot of really good players. Brackens have rightly so. Even we saw them in Borlahan last year. They're up there in the top 4. They're up there with Moyle Rovers, Commercials, and Lockmore now at this stage, and they'll be hoping to. Eamon Corcoran has kind of gone like almost Frankie, that Sarah said earlier. You kind of follow in your manager's footsteps, and like Frankie's really positive with our next match is Ardfinnan. Eamon Corcoran is similar. Like Eamon Corcoran would have been a staunch hurling man, Fitzgibbon winner, serial winner of Tip Seniors and all this. But Eamon Corcoran sees the value in football, and he sees it with Joe Hayes as a decent guy to bring into the parish, and a great football coach. That he'll see the value in this, and getting the lads used to winning and taking on oppositions like Arravale and hopefully getting over them. He'll see massive opportunity for the year starting today, starting again.
And Shane, you'll be on co-com with Paul Jenkins on Sunday, 1 o'clock in Clonmel for that game. Just finally, Sarah, absolutely huge camogie match on this weekend, Sunday. The venue and time is to be announced. But the Tipperary under-16 camogie team are playing the All-Ireland final against Cork. John Ryan, their manager, who I know well, and it is brilliant for Tip camogie to be in an All-Ireland final just finally.
Yeah, exactly. After kind of a poor year, I suppose, for both senior and junior camogie teams, this is definitely after lifting a lot of people in Tipperary camogie's spirits. Seeing the young girls go out and get a good 4 or 5 point win over Galway in the semi-final. Tough task ahead of them against Cork. Cork are really dominating at underage the last few years, so they know that this is going to be a tough task ahead of them. Cork put up a big scoreline in their semi-final as well. But yeah, great excitement in camp, and I know even captain of the team, Sophie Marr from my neck of the woods in Clonty Rossmore, like even in the parishes alone, like Sophie was down around at the double header in Clonty at the weekend, and every person that was passing her was wishing her well, and and it's great for them, for the young girls and the young lads in Tipperary to put themselves into these positions, like we've seen with the minor hurlers, and that will drive on that group of girls. And there is a good crop there. I know I've taught and trained a lot of them when I was inside in the presentation in Thurles, and they really are a hard-working a bunch of girls, and you would love to see it fruitful on the day for next weekend. And I would encourage, I know there's lots of matches on and the stream is there and whatever, but as many as they can to get to whenever the venue is announced and the time to get to this and support the girls, because you can be sure, if I know those girls like I think I do, like they will put in a solid display and do that jersey proud on the day. So yeah, a great week for Tipperary Camogie, and hopefully now all will go well for them on the day.
Excellent stuff, Sarah Fryday, and we wish them well wearing the blue and gold jersey in the All-Ireland final, and hope they bring another title back. Huge thanks to you, Sarah Fryday, and to you, Shane Stapleton, for your company for the last hour or so. Viewers, I hope you enjoyed this show here on Tipp GAA TV. One live football game to bring you this weekend, and we'll be back with round 2 of the hurling the week after. From us all here at Tipp GAA TV,